evening and welcome to Meticulous Moments. My name is Juanita Kapp. You can reach me at meticulousmacarons@gmail.com or find me on LinkedIn. Since the COVID-19 pandemic hit the globe, I've had the wonderful privilege to meet a wide array of fantastic individuals. These individuals have truly touched my life in so many positive ways. Amongst this group of people, there are authors, public speakers, life coaches, poets, leaders, and visionaries. They are the unsung heroes of our time. Therefore, I decided to start the Meticulous Moments movement out of a sense of my gratitude. It is my way of giving back to the community. Let us share and reshare their stories in an effort to build a better society. Good day, everyone, and welcome to the Meticulous Moments podcast, where we facilitate community upliftment through leadership development. And today we have the wonderful privilege of spending time with the amazing Lisa Manzo. Lisa is an entrepreneur and she also operates the Phoenix Mind. I love her slogan. She says, "I help entrepreneurs take out their mental trash." Think a little bit about when last you took out your mental trash. Remember, we live in a broken world with broken people. We pick things up in our energy fields during the course of the day. Hear and learn from Lisa how to keep your networks open and how to excel from leadership to leadership to leadership level, how to go from strength to strength, and how to do so in a healthy manner. Be intrigued by her approach and the knowledge that she shares. And with that, we just want to say to Lisa, thank you so much for being a part now of the Meticulous Moments podcast audience and family. We are truly blessed to have you. Good evening, Meticulous Moments audience. Thank you so much for joining us for yet another vibrant session here at Meticulous Moments podcast, where we facilitate community upliftment through leadership development. And this evening, we have the wonderful privilege of spending time with the amazing Lisa Manzo. How are you, Lisa?
Oh, I'm great. Thank you for inviting me. This is such a great opportunity. I'm so happy to be here.
It is a tremendous pleasure to have you here. Thank you so much. Now, we've met on Zooms. We've been on calls together. We've spoken on Messenger. We had a virtual coffee, which was very enlightening. I was just making notes as you were speaking, so thank you for that. And I would like to just ask you, for the audience members who've not had the privilege of meeting you, would you just care to introduce yourself to them?
Sure. I'm Lisa Manzo. I am an NLP master practitioner. I'm also a matrix therapy coach. I'm a hypnotist. And I just love helping people pass their emotional trauma, which is something someone had done for me. So now I do it for other people. And it's just such amazing to be able to let go of that stuff so I can live my best life.
Let me tell you, audience, thank you so much, Lisa. Let me tell you, audience, Lisa, she is just amazing. I had one session with her and it was only a virtual coffee, and she inspired me so much. And I learned so much. I know this session is going to be so valuable to you today. Now, there's quite a list of things that Lisa is skilled in. And one of those things is being an NLP mastermind coach. She's a hypnotist and a matrix therapy coach, like she listed. Now, I want to ask you, Lisa, can you elaborate on these roles for us, for those of us who are not acquainted with you?
So NLP for me, and this is the way I view it, it's my reality. I view NLP as a way to use the mind to shift and rewire your brain into a more positive thinking, because the power of your life lies in here. It's not on the outside, and it's how you talk to yourself and relate to yourself and the things you say, and that's how you program your brain. And NLP helps you rewire your unconscious mind to get a better result.
Beautiful.
It is. And then that being said, matrix therapy is based off NLP language techniques. And the matrix therapy sessions are really helpful for people that have emotional trauma or have like experienced very emotionally charged events and are unable to disconnect themselves mentally and spiritually and physically from them, and just are reliving it over and over. And it's a way for them to disconnect from that, so it's not their daily reality. It's almost like somebody being in PTSD and keep living that over and over again. So this matrix therapies session help you disconnect from that, which is super important. And what I like about hypnosis is the hypnosis that I do is just a conversation. I get you into a state so that you can speak with your unconscious mind directly. I'll ask questions and we get your unconscious mind to answer. You're fully and totally aware of everything that's going on, and you're totally conscious. It's unlike stage hypnosis. And then what happens is we figure out why you're doing what you're doing. So I'll give you an example. So one of my clients was procrastinating. And when we did this session, I call it going to the manager's meeting. And we brought that part of the brain out, the unconscious mind, to say, what's going on? Why are you doing this? And what we figured out that the procrastination was a safety mechanism for that person, because as a child, if they did what they were supposed to do and they didn't do it right, they'd get yelled at by their parent. So if they procrastinated and didn't do it, they didn't get yelled at. So it was like a safety measure. It provided them safety. And now as an adult, their parents don't yell at them anymore. So it really no longer applies. So they need to reprogram their brain to stop doing that.
Now that is extremely, extremely interesting. And I always say to people when they bring golden nuggets like that, I always tell them, now getting to the good stuff. Now, I've heard of the NLP before. I've had wonderful feedback about NLP. The Matrix is super exciting, bouncing off of that reprogramming. And the hypnotism, I'm so happy that you explain to people that it's not something to be fearful of. Because I've met so many people that think it's something that it's really not. And I thank you for that refreshing point of view, because that is what you do. You know what it's about.
Yeah, so when people hear hypnosis, they think about stage hypnosis, when you get somebody up on stage and they bark like a dog and they do things and that's not the hypnosis I do. And that's not therapeutic, and that's not helping you change your mind. So I do it. This is the way I use hypnosis, so that you can understand what's going on in your own head.
Beautiful. Beautiful, and it's changing lives and it's elevating people. And these are techniques and measures that are out there that can heal people, from their past hurts and their ties. And like you've said, there are people, and I've seen that in the counseling as well, Lisa, there's people that relive that trauma every single day. It is like they cannot get out of that cycle. And that is not a way to live. That is not a good quality of life. So thank you for your leadership and servant leadership in helping people, discover their true selves and reset those beliefs that they have, maybe that they should have left behind as they've grown now into new individuals. Now, what are some of the interesting NLP practices that are employed during coaching? What can you bring to us? What is excites you when you do that?
So there's a few NLP techniques that I really like. One of them is called anchoring.
Oh.
And what that is, anchoring is when an emotional stimulus and a physical touch come together. So there can be positive anchors and there can be negative anchors. Okay? Yeah. For my clients, I like to install positive anchors for them so that they can change how they're feeling by just touching that point of the body. So for example, I have an anchor I have a couple. So there's the one that I go power, power, power. Yet when I'm in a meeting, I'm not going to stop and say power, power, power in front of everybody, right? And I want to feel good. So I do this. I touch this knuckle right here, right? Because nobody really touches that part of my body. I pick a spot that is not touched a lot, and I'll touch this part. And then And especially when something really good happens. So I was speaking on stage yesterday, and it was absolutely phenomenal experience. And while I'm speaking on stage, every now and then I'm reinforcing my positive anchor, because I have all these positive and happy emotions running through my body, and I'm just touching my knuckle to reinforce my positive emotion. And you can reinforce this yourself, right? And I install this for people, and I show them they can continue it and continue installing the anchors, and make sure, because just like anything else, if you don't use it, it fades away. Well, you don't you don't use it, you lose it, right?
Yes.
So you can keep installing it, and you just think of, and the way you install it is you think of a time when you felt really, really good and really, really happy. And as you think of that time, you touch the area you want to use as your anchor, and you build, and you put lots and lots of positive emotions on it. That's one of my favorites. And then we can collapse anchors, like a negative anchor. If you have an anchor where when somebody touches you and you want to collapse it, we can collapse those anchors as well, so that you no longer associate that physical touch with that negative feeling. Because our bodies have muscle memory.
Yes, it does. It does. And I read up a little bit on the NLP, and I remember reading that it's also the study of behavioral patterns, communication patterns, which I found very, very interesting, because in the coaching that I do and the ministry that I've been in, I've learned to read people's body language. So I know when they are feeling somebody is invading their space, or they're feeling uncomfortable, or they are relaxed, and I find that the NLP also touches on that, I think, even more. So I mean, you have a vast knowledge. What is the type of, and this was not discussed previously, but what is positive body language? Because we talk positive and negative anchors now, but what is positive body language and what is negative body language, for instance?
Okay, so that's part of sensory acuity in the NLP world. So in sensory acuity, you can look at somebody's face. So like when they lose color in their face, that's a negative. But when somebody has color in their face, it becomes positive. Now, this is hard to tell in women because women wear makeup, right? So it's hard to tell. And then some people, like their lip will plump up when they're happy, and then it'll shrink down when and those are minute changes. But some of the other body languages, so if I'm sitting here talking to you, and then I fold my arms, I just closed myself off to you. I just closed myself off to you. Or if I'm sitting next to you and I have my legs crossed, if my legs are crossed in your direction, that's positive for you. If my legs are crossed in the other direction, that's negative. So I like to watch couples when they're on TV shows. And recently I saw a picture I believe it was Prince William and Kate Middleton. And the picture was great. They weren't touching each other, yet their body language was facing each other. His legs were crossed in her direction and her legs were crossed in his direction. And that's positive body language.
Fantastic. I love that. You're always teaching me new things. That's what I love about you, Lisa. Thank you so much. I know the audience is enjoying this thoroughly. Now, we talked hypnotism. That there is a wrong conception about hypnotism. And I want to ask you, what is the main function for those, that are not familiar with that? What is the main function of hypnotism?
I really feel like that's based on what the hypnotist does with the information that they have. And I really feel it's individual. For me, I want to use it to help you understand why you do the things you do. That's my only purpose of using it, and help you make a different choice and change your behavior. Because we always do what we always did, we always get what we always got. And so we want to change our behavior, and I use it for that and that purpose only. So can't speak for other people, but that's what I use it for. I use it so you can understand what's going on in your head, because awareness is the key to change. You need to become aware in order to change.
Absolutely. And I'm thinking now, who doesn't want to know, why we do the things that we do? We all want to actually know Why do we get triggered by certain things? Why do certain people have a certain effect on us? So very interesting. Hypnosis. I want to also ask you, how many sessions does it take for someone to be hypnotized? Is it a process? Or is it a once-off? Or for those who are interested, because I'm thinking it's something amazing. Maybe I should try.
Well, I'm always happy to do a one-off session if you're just looking for one specific thing. I'm happy to do that. And I just find that in hypnosis is the only one-off session I will do. In any of my other programs, it's a package because you need to go through a process in order to get a specific result. Yet if you're just focusing on one specific thing that you need to know, why am I doing this? Then we can do a one-off hypnosis session, and I'm happy to do it for you. You'll get your answer, and doesn't mean you'll change it by yourself, right? Yes. I want to help you change it. So sometimes the answer is enough for someone, and they, oh, I understand now. I do it, okay, and then just understanding that they do it, because then the next time it comes up, they know to do something different because now they're aware. And some people it's enough for, and some people it's not. And I'm happy to do that for people just so that they can understand what's going on. And it has to be a specific thing. Like I gave that example earlier, like somebody was procrastinating and they found out that procrastinating kept them safe. So that, and that gave them an answer, right? That was really cool.
Wonderful.
For me personally, I had a hypnosis session. I'm like, I want to know why I emotionally eat.
Yeah.
Okay, so I had somebody do the hypnosis session for me, and we went through the session, and it goes back to childhood. It goes back to childhood when I felt disrespected in the moment, and in the moment, somebody spoke up for me and said, no, she doesn't want to eat. I was like 17, 18 years old, and I felt that with my unconscious mind thought that was disrespectful, and I'll show you, and I'm going to eat anyway.
Oh, I see. Interesting how the mind works. That awareness you said brings the resolve of it because now you know. Wow.
Right. Then I understood where the emotional eating came from. And that was really cool because of all the healing and all the personal work I did, I actually stopped emotionally eating, like the junk food cravings, like, oh no, that's an emotional response to something that no longer applies. And I was able to stop it.
Amazing progress. Wonderful. You're a living testimony that it works. And now I also know why you are so passionate about it. And I can see that it's a combination of things. Actually, it should be a combination of all these three: NLP, also the matrix, and then the hypnotism, because we are body, soul, and spirit. We can't just service the one part of the human. We have to look at the human in a holistic manner. Now, for those of us, and I'm not very familiar with matrix, will you explain to us the matrix therapy? Because I know you said it bounces off from the NLP. I find it very interesting.
Okay, so what will happen, just figure this, let's use the emotion fear, for example, right?
Yeah.
And have my client do some breathing, and I'll say, oh, can you remember the first time you felt fear in your body? Because you feel it in your body, right? Yeah. So then it's like, this is not the script verbatim, or it's like, hey, where in your body you feel it? You'd know when it was gone, wouldn't you? And then we go through the script and the process, and I have the person empty out all the feelings that are associated with that. Okay, what does anger have to say? What does fear have to say? What does shame, guilt, sadness? What does every part of you have to say? And then I'll ask that person, okay, and because we're talking directly to the unconscious mind now, which means we're reprogramming it. And then I'm asking you, well, what resources would you need in order to heal? And I remind my clients that the unconscious mind cannot tell the difference between reality and fantasy, and it cannot tell time. So you can ask for anything you want, okay? Meaning, if you were afraid of a family member, you can ask for a protector, like a bodyguard. Because in fantasy, it doesn't matter. You can ask for a bodyguard. You can ask for a protective bubble. You can ask for whatever it is you need, whether you needed more love, more hugs, more kindness, more compassion, more understanding, whether you needed that physical person to protect you and have your own bodyguard, whatever you use, and we install that into the person. And then we bring them out of the session and ask you, how is it different now that you have made these changes? And instantly people get a result. Yeah. And sometimes you have to do it more than once because it depends on how deep it is. But all my clients have always gotten a result. They've always said, oh, I feel so much lighter. I feel like that weight has been lifted off me. But it's like this. If the glass is full, right? When we're working on our emotions, our unconscious mind only lets us deal with the top layer. So once we deal with the top layer, the unconscious mind, oh, you dealt with that really well. Here's some more stuff. And more stuff comes up. And it's like, okay, you can deal with this now. Here it goes. You handled that well. Let's get the next one out of the way. And stuff keeps coming up. So it's not, I'm going to coach you and you're going to be completely healed. I'm going to coach you and give you tools to heal yourself when you're done with me, so that when these things come up, you'll know how to get rid of them.
Amazing, absolutely phenomenal. I think that is really something I want to do even more research on, because it is just something that is transformative. Thank you, Lisa. You are just phenomenal. And
I teach it. I teach people how to do it as well as I work on it for people. So anybody who wants to learn to be an NLP practitioner or a matrix therapy, I use matrix therapies. I can teach that to them as well.
Wow, I actually didn't know that. Thank you for sharing. Thank you so much. Now, tell us, Lisa, we talked about the toxicity of other people and the negative influence that they can have on us. Would you care to describe that to the audience as well? That was such a lovely discussion.
Well, I know that toxic people have an effect on you energetically, emotionally, and mentally. And you need to distance yourself from them. Mm-hmm. And sometimes they're family. And sometimes it's not easy. And yet it needs to happen. And the key to doing this is boundaries. Mm-hmm. Setting boundaries. Because once you set boundaries and people understand that you're firm about them, they'll stop trying to pass them and surpass them. I never had any boundaries. Before I started this healing, I didn't have any boundaries, and anything anybody asked for me, I was yes, even if it meant I had to just give up something for myself. And now it's like, when somebody asks me something, I'm like, well, is it going to serve me? Is it going to serve them? Is it going to be helpful to both of us? And can I do it? Can I do it without taking away from myself? Because I have to fill my own teacup first in order for me to have something for you. And the people that benefit from you having no boundaries are the people that take advantage of you. So you'll get the biggest pushback from those people because they're not used to it, and you need to set the boundaries. And once you're consistent about it, it'll stop happening. I mean, people they'll push boundaries anyway. But when you're consistent about setting your boundaries for yourself and treating yourself well, it really works. Keeps the toxic people away. The other thing I like to do, I think I told you, is if I'm going to go into a toxic environment, I visualize myself putting on a rubber suit so that their energy bounces off of me.
I love that, because, sometimes we have the opportunity to kind of leave those family members behind or distance ourselves from those friends that are toxic. But sometimes we don't have the opportunity to do that, and we are stuck with them for a little while. So the rubber suit sounds like a wonderful remedy for that.
Oh yeah, I love the rubber suit. It's a visualization, and you have to put the rubber suit on again. Like if some time goes by and you feel the energy penetrating it, just go back into the restroom, take a minute, put another one on.
Yeah,
put another one on.
It's like that one's expired, the new one is coming on.
Just put another one on, because that they wear out.
Yeah. Interesting. I'm learning. And this is all leadership, Lisa. To me, this is all self-leadership, taking control of your life and learning new practices to safeguard yourself and to help yourself to be okay. And it's very important that we do that. Now, I want to ask you, leadership, what does it signify to you?
I'm sorry, I'm looking for the charger because my cell phone is my computer's fading. I'm sorry. There we go. That's better. There.
Absolutely.
I'm sorry. Can you ask me the question again?
Yes. What does good leadership signify to you?
So I feel like it's leading by example.
Yeah.
And what I mean by that is I've met so many coaches that tell you what to do, yet they don't do it themselves.
That one.
And I found that out because I became friends with some of these coaches after, right? And I'm like, oh, but you're talking this. So what I learned from that, and what I learned from that is, it's not an all or nothing world. So when I talk about these things, I say, listen, I'm telling you to do this. Do I do it every day? No. Should I do it every day? Yes. Yeah. I'm human. Sometimes the days fall through the cracks, but when the coach is talking and they're saying, well, yeah, I do this every day. Well, then you're in their house and they're doing something different. I'm like, well, what happened to every day? So, and it's not an all or nothing world, right? It's like, okay, this day I'm not going to be able to do it because I have all this stuff planned. Okay, today I'm going to take a day off. It happens. But you can't go from that. I feel as though you have to do this every single day and then you're not doing it. That's incongruent for me.
Yes, I agree with you. And that happens so often. That does happen so often. Now, we were talking mindset as well. And what does that topic of mindset, what does that mean to you? Because you have a vast experience, in all the fields that we've discussed now, and that has got a lot to do with our mindset.
You are what you think. You are what you think, what you focus on expands. And people have been saying that to me for a long time. And then as I realized that, and as I watched it evolve and I've taken on a new journey, I'm like, wow. And I see people saying, well, that's never going to happen. And I said, well, if you keep saying that, it's never going to happen. Of course, it's not going to happen because you don't want it to happen. I was like, what if we change it to, wow, wouldn't that be great if that happened? Wouldn't that be wonderful? It's all about language. And I'm very careful. I catch myself all the time because I'm still learning. It's a process, and it's always a process of speaking better and better to myself. For example, I don't say I have to do this. Okay. And once in a while I'll say it and I catch it. I hear myself and I'll say, no, I'm choosing to do this because I'm choosing to do it. I don't have, because when I say I have to, it's a job. But when I say I'm choosing to, it's not a job. It's fun. It's a whole different brain wiring that goes off when you say, I'm choosing to do this. This is my choice.
I agree with you completely. I love that. I absolutely love that. Phenomenal. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful answer. True. Because it really depends on how we look at it. The way we look at it is so important. I think that is just a mind shift that we go through. I tell people often, they ask me if their day starts off awfully what they should do. And I always have the same answer because that's what I do and it works for me. I always, if something happens, I always get up and I say, well, how much better can this day get? Because I believe that what I put out there in the universe will answer to me. And, the universe has surprised me quite a few times when I do that. So to the audience, listen to Lisa.
I love that.
Yeah.
So just for fun, sometimes if I'm having a bad day, I'll get back in bed just for a moment and I'll get up on the other side.
Wow, I love that. Wow.
I'll get back in bed just for a moment, and instead of getting out on the side I usually that I got out on in the morning, I get out on the other side and I'm like, okay, let's have a different experience now for the rest of the day.
I'm going to try that. Absolutely. I'm going to try that, and I'm going to text you and tell you how it worked out.
Yeah, I can't wait. Yeah, no, I do that. And then sometimes if I go to bed and I'm not really in the best mood, because sometimes that happens, I'll make a plan in the morning to get up on the other side of the bed so I can have a different result.
Good. That planning ahead, making sure you run your day and your day doesn't run you. I love that. I'm learning.
Yeah, it's time for me to switch sides that I get out. I've been getting out on the left side of the bed. So now it's time for me to switch sides for a while and get out on the other side. I do that. Like I'll get out on one side of the bed for a couple months and then I'll go back to the other side because it's a different perspective because it gets different muscles involved and it changes things for you.
Absolutely. I'm a firm believer of that. We are actually so connected energetically to the environment and the universe, and we don't always realize it. It took me years and years to understand that concept. So I'm so happy to learn more and more from you. And we need a strong mindset. People are going through things, especially since COVID. And Lisa, you'll know there's a lot of people that suffer from anxiety, whether it's conscious or subconscious. There's people that suffer from fear and worry, that go through depression often. And how important is the mindset that you are cultivating here, that you are talking to people about? How important is it to keep that up?
It's very important because I can tell you, I used to take antidepressants and I don't need them anymore. Wow. I don't need it because I change what's going on up here for me. I change what's going on up here for me and the way I think. And of course, I have those days that everybody else has. And those days I just feel like crying. And you know what? I do because it's a release of emotion. And if I feel like crying, I should because it's just going to let it go. Because if I hold it in, it stays in my body.
Yeah, that's another point. That's another lovely point. If you need to cry, get those emotions out. Yeah.
I will tell you, a lot of people aren't comfortable with people crying. You know what? That's their thing. That's not mine. I'm comfortable when I cry. Yeah. If you're uncomfortable with it, you can go walk the other way. That's not going to affect me because I need to release this. And if that's the way I'm going to release it, I release by crying. That's my thing. Some people release by sneezing. Some people release by coughing. Everybody releases in a different way. And this is my way. And, yes, it'd be great if you could. And I understand if you can't.
Absolutely. Everybody's special. Everybody has their own way. I agree with you completely. And I actually said to someone a little bit earlier today, they were asking, how should they, when they experience the emotion, should they show it? If they feel to say something, should they say it? And I said, absolutely. You express how you feel and you say what you feel because that's how you stay in your flow. I said the moment that you try and hold things back, that's the moment that now you're starting to create, obstacles for yourself. Just stay in the flow. Never be disrespectful to someone and never be mean and, like that. Always treat people with dignity. But you have the right to say how you feel. If something is not the way you want it, then you have the right to say, well, I'm sorry, here I am. This doesn't sit right with me. You can always, in a loving and peaceful manner, agree with people to disagree. There's nothing wrong with that.
No, there isn't anything wrong with that. And here's one of the ways I like to do that. I like to say, oh, that's interesting. Can you tell me more? Because this is what I'm hearing. And I tell them what I'm hearing. And usually it's completely not what they mean. So when I hear something that I may be offended by, I just start with, hey, either I'm confused or that's interesting. Yeah. Can you tell me more? Because this is what I think you're trying to say. And when I tell them what I think they're trying to say and it's never right, then they explain it. And they usually explain it in a better way that I understand their point of view. And now I'm not upset because now I understand their thinking, because before I had my own thinking in my head and it was totally unrelated to what was actually really happening.
Open communication lines, and it happens. And that's why I love sending voice notes, and I always react with a lot of emojis, and I'll tell you why. Because often a message is sent, but it's read in a different light than it was sent. So that person might be having a stressful day, and now they get this. Maybe the person that sent the message was in a hurry, and they just jotted down something small, just to get the point across. Now, the other person is picking up the phone and saying, oh, well, this message sounds rude. So I know, because in the church I've seen that if our people have disagreements over misunderstandings. So I always talk a lot. I love voice notes and I love to work with emojis. Just to assure people, because we live in such a fast-paced society, and everything's just happening all the time. So I love that. That's a practice we can use. If we feel that we don't understand, or maybe it's something negative, just say to that person, well, this is what I'm hearing. I'm going to do that. And then it's resolved.
Yeah, the other interesting thing is with texting, I'm not a big, I'll text you and I'll ask you a question. I'll ask you like yes or no question. What time are we meeting? Where are we going? But if it gets into anything more than that, it's got to be a phone call or a voice text, because it's not coming across how I mean it in a text.
Yeah.
And
I love that. It's true. It's absolutely true. And thank you so much for sharing that. I appreciate that so much. And we talked about the elderly. We had a wholesome discussion about your parents when we had our virtual coffee. Would you like to share that with the audience?
Yeah, sure. I'll share about my dad. He died 7 years ago. Next month, it'll be 7 years. And he died of smoke inhalation in a house fire, and he had dementia, and he didn't want to live with his children. We had that conversation. We actually had that conversation on Saturday, and he died on Tuesday. I'm like, Dad, you're starting to need more help now. I said, you can come live with me. You can have my room. I can go sleep upstairs in the loft. It's fine. Yeah. And even though his dementia was there, he was still fiercely independent. There was no way he didn't want to live with his children. Mm-hmm. And, I did the best I could for him. I went to see him every week. I took care of his medicines. I took him to the doctors. I did that for him. I did everything I possibly could. And he was really resistant to it. Thank God I became a nurse, because that was the time when he finally decided that it was okay. I could help him, because now I was a nurse. Now I was a nurse, so I could help him. But before, if I wasn't a nurse, he would never have even let me help him. He wouldn't have. He would have thought I wasn't qualified.
Yes.
And so when he died, after he died, he caused a fire in the apartment building he was living in. And one of the ladies in the building said, "You should be ashamed of yourself, letting him live by himself." She was really not nice about it. And I looked at her and I said, "Did you meet my father? Did you ever talk to him?" He was serious about that. He told me even before his dementia set in, when I was young, he said, "I'm never living with you. I'm never living with your brother. That's it. I'm telling you, I'm not doing it." And he didn't do it. He got his way.
Yeah. That's what he wanted. Yeah.
And she was trying to put that guilt on to me that I didn't do something right. And you know what? I did everything I possibly could. I adored my dad. He was my buddy. Yeah. We had a lot of fun together. We did a lot of silly things together. I loved hanging out with him. I loved talking to him. And, he was a practical joker. And it was great. It was such a great relationship. And I wrote about it in a story because I wanted people to understand that this is part of life. And they're not responsible for their parents. Yes. I did what I could for him out of joy because I wanted to. But ultimately, they're the adults here. Like, they're older than us. And yes, we need to help them. I believe that completely. I'm not saying that we shouldn't help them. Yeah. But we're not totally responsible for them. Yes. We can ask for help. And it's important to ask for help.
Yes, of course. Absolutely. And I love that you shared that because, something happened to me when my mom passed away in 2020. She passed away from brain cancer. And I'm a pastor and I've prayed, over lots of people. And some people is healed by God and other people are not healed. And people ask me why. And I don't have the answer to that because I'm not God and I'm not the universe. I'm just a vessel. Some people get healed, some people don't. And when my mom passed away, someone actually had the audacity to come to me and say, well, you prayed so much for your mom, and you fasted for your mom and God didn't save your mother. So how can you say that the blood of Jesus, cleans and heals and uplifts people. And the point that I want to make, Lisa, is that we don't understand everything. But as children, we are there for our parents, but we have to remember she chose to stop her treatment at a point because she's still an adult. Just because they get older and they get sick doesn't mean that they're not adults anymore. They're not children. They know who they are. They are adults, and they make the choices because it's up to them what they want to do. So I agree with you completely. You did what you could, Lisa, and it worked out the way it was supposed to work out. So we love the elderly, but we can also not force them to do things they don't want to do.
Right. I mean, I asked him, I invited him. I didn't say you have to.
You did.
You know, I told him, I said, I think at some point you'll have to because, you know, you won't be able to stay here by yourself. But and I'm happy to be here for you. Yeah. You know, ultimately it's his decision, right?
It's his decision. It's his decision. And I love that you shared that. It's important because I felt to put that question in. I know someone is listening. Someone's going to see this and they need to hear that. So that's going to be a therapy for them in itself.
Here's the other thing though, because I work in long-term care as a nurse when I was working, you know, as I'm a nurse and was working as a nurse. And some people are not able to make that decision for themselves. That conversation needs to be had years before anything has happened. Years before, like I know somebody who had Alzheimer's in the family, right? Running their family. And they had the conversation, if I ever get like that, put me in a home. One, I won't know the difference. And two, I don't want you doing that for me. I don't, it's demeaning for me. It's demeaning for you. And I don't want you to have those kind of memories of me.
Yeah.
You have to have
because
that conversation.
The quality of life. Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I've had that conversation with my kids. You know, they know my wishes.
Your wishes.
It's important to have that conversation. Actually, it's even more important to write them down.
I was just going to say, why not put up an agreement? You know?
It's more important to write it down.
If something happens, you know what to do. I think I would do that. Absolutely, because I wouldn't want anyone to forget what my wishes are.
So here in the United States, we have living wills, and that's what they're designed for. Write out a living will to say what your wishes are for when you're not able to make your own decisions. This is what you want.
I absolutely love that because that is something that I think they should employ in all the countries. Because Alzheimer's is not something, you know, to some people it just happens overnight. It's not like, for instance, that illness. My mom's brain cancer, they thought that she had a middle ear infection. And it was in COVID, and the next thing we knew, she had a few weeks to live. You know, and then she lived a few months. But I mean, still, it's shocking. So things happen overnight. Living wills are amazing. Get a living will, audience. It doesn't matter how old you are now. You're going to get older. Do it now while you're thinking about it.
Well, you know, and people aren't mind readers, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Are they supposed to know what will make you happy? And now I agree with you. I'm definitely going to look into that. And, you know, I'm looking at our list of questions and I can't believe the time has flown. We're down to our last 2 questions. Can you believe that?
Wow, the time went so fast. This conversation's been so nice and easy and smooth.
Yes, it's lovely. Thank you so much for everything that you've added. That is just amazing. We're learning. And I want to ask you the second last question, and that is, what is next for you? How can we support you as you have supported and uplifted us? How can we uplift you?
I'm happy to have a conversation with anybody that wants to change their life. I have an NLP course that I teach. I'm happy to enroll people, and I'm happy to talk to someone who would like some personal coaching. And you can book with me. It's bookwithlisanow.com, www.bookwithlisanow.com, and you can make an appointment and we can have a conversation and I can see how I can help you. It's very rewarding for me to see my clients just transform their lives. And you know, I have a specific set of questions that I ask for because I want to make sure my clients are ready and are going to be successful, because if you're not ready, I'm not interested in your money, because if you're not ready, it's not going to help you. You need to be ready. It's not easy work. It's emotional work. And if you're not ready to go there, you're wasting your money, and I'm not interested. Honestly, I have a great success rate. I have like a 98% success rate, and the person that brought my success rate down to 98, I realized I didn't ask the right question in the interview when we went on, and I realized she wasn't ready to change.
Yeah.
And she's still holding on to her secondary gain. Like, she gets to not take responsibility for herself and blame everybody else. And I talk to her regularly, and I'm like, well, when are you going to stop that?
Yeah. We can't help if they're not willing to change. That's the first thing.
And it's important. If you're not ready, this is very emotional work. You have to be willing to go there, and you have to feel your feelings to let them go. I tell people that.
That's an interesting point. You have to feel those feelings to let them go. You have to acknowledge that you feel that way. Wow.
See, as a child, I was told a lot, don't feel that way. Your feelings are wrong. Okay. So I had to reteach myself to trust my feelings and to feel them and to let them go.
Very, very interesting. Because if you don't know about them, how can you have a handle on them to let them go? Wow, that makes so much sense. Thank you so much, Lisa. I really appreciate it. I'm making mental notes here, and I've got some notes here on the paper as well. Always when we speak, I have my pen and my paper ready, because you are just like an encyclopedia, and we just really appreciate you here on the Meticulous Moments podcast. And with that, I want to get to our last question. Do you have any words of wisdom for the audience?
Keep going.
Yeah.
Keep going. Just stay the course. And you know what's a really good thing? This is what I did when I started my journey. When I had decided that I was going to change my life, I took my picture. I took a selfie of myself that day, and I didn't smile. I just took a picture of myself and exactly how I felt in that moment. And I was miserable, unhappy, all those things, unworthy, all those things I was feeling. And I took a picture of that because I knew my brain would play tricks on me. And I knew I wanted to be able to look back and see the difference. So I took that picture, and then I looked at it 3 months later, and I had already made a huge change. You could see it in my physical appearance, for myself. I could see it. Even if somebody else couldn't see it, it didn't matter. I could see it. I could see the change. So when you want to change, you want to take that picture and take one every few months. Not every day, not every week. Take one, so maybe every 4 months, and look at them and compare them and see how you've grown when you're on this journey, because you'll see it.
Beautiful. Beautiful. You'll see the change physically as well, like you've mentioned. I actually have been through that. I went through a very traumatic time in a corporate company. And I remember that there was a recording where I was busy working, and I actually came across it as a few months later as I was clearing out my laptop. I was putting everything on the hard drive, so I had to open and click and see what it is and then rename it, because it was just video files. And as I opened it, my daughter was sitting with me having a cup of coffee, and she was like, "Oh, look what you looked like, Mom." She said, "You looked sick. You had these, I don't know what they call it here under the eyes, but the blue, it's
bags.
Like
they call it bags. Bags.
Yes, I had that." And she was like, "You look so miserable." She said, "Look at the difference between you then and now."
And it works.
Yeah, it does. I've actually experienced that. So audience, listen to Lisa. She's giving you golden nuggets. She wants to help you reach out to her. Network with her. I'm going to make her contact details available at the end of the session. And Lisa, we just want to say, I want to extend a special thanks to you for making the time for us. Thank you so much. And we will definitely have to do a follow-up session soon.
Oh, that'd be amazing. Thank you for the opportunity. I love talking about that. It's this stuff about the mind. It's so my passion. It changed everything for me. And I want to share it with other people so that they can have the same or a better result than I have gotten.
Beautiful. And that is servant leadership right there. That is authentic leadership right there. Thank you so much. And to the Meticulous Moments audience, thank you for joining us. We will see you in the next session, and make sure to make contact with Lisa, and just have a lovely day and stay healthy. Goodbye.
Bye.